Hello everybody, I am going to discuss today selling books on Vinted versus eBay and the pros and cons of doing so and how I've been getting on recently doing that. My name is Dave. If you're new to the channel, please give this video a like at the end of it. If you enjoyed it, go and check out my other videos, do the same, and click the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. My business is called The Magical Toy Cupboard. You can go and find my eBay store, which is called The Magical Toy Cupboard. I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, and I've got a Facebook page as well. So let's get into it. So basically, I sell vintage toys, vintage comics, vintage annuals, vintage collectibles, a lot of vintage stuff. Seems to be my niche, seems to have worked for me over the years, so I've stuck to it. I very rarely pick up anything other than sort of vintage collectibles, because I don't really go buying sort of new stock. Like, I don't do retail arbitrage. I know some people do. They go into Tesco's, Asda, Morrison's, and when they're selling off like toys that are basically being discounted, brand new, they buy them and sell them. I've thought about doing it. It might be something I'll do in the future, but I generally stick to the vintage stuff that I pick up mainly off Facebook Marketplace. I'd say 80% of my pickups are off there. Now, if you've watched some of my previous videos, you will see that I've picked up books before and sold them, and I picked up loads of them ages ago off this guy, and he's a contact I've stuck with now, and I pick them up from him quite regularly. He does bundles of hundreds and hundreds of books for like 40 to 60 quid. And there's some really nice titles in there sometimes that go for some really good money. A lot of it then will be your general tat that isn't really worth more than about 50p to a quid, but you just have to kind of sift through. And what I've generally done is I've stuck it all on eBay. That's tended to be where I've listed all these books. And obviously the better titles, they seem to go, like I say, and then the other titles that some of them, you know, you might get 7 to 10 quid for, just seem to stick and seem to hang around. And it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you take them back off, sell similar, change the title, change the pictures sometimes, the description, you know, all these little things that we do as resellers to try and tweak things to get more sales and push it, push it to the eBay algorithm. Doesn't work. Not only that, you know, you're sometimes thinking, well, there's that many people selling books on eBay, like millions. You've got these big, massive companies like World of Books that seem to be able to sell a book that you might get 5 to 7 quid for. So, for example, they're selling it for like 3 quid with free postage. Now, most books are quite chunky, and I tend to send my parcels out. Small parcel with Royal Mail, up to 2 kilograms is, I think £3.55, something like that. That's 48-hour tracked. Now, if they're sending it out for £3.50, the book and postage, you just cannot compete, and you're just not seen in the listings most of the time. You know, you get the odd sale, don't get me wrong, especially if there's not many obviously on eBay. But if it's something that's, you know, been mass produced and there's tons of them, they tend to get the sales for that, and you can't compete with them, because obviously they're selling millions of books, millions and millions, so they can make, you know, they're up to make 5 to 10p on a book, and they've obviously got reduced postage with someone because they're sending out so many parcels, which obviously we can't compete with as individual sellers. So what I started to do recently was, this is the whole Vinted versus eBay thing. So as I've just discussed, if you put it on eBay, you've got mass competition. You've got to really heavily promote some books sometimes. I'm talking 12-15% to get rid of some, because there's so many of them on there, and then your profit margins just, you know, it's just pointless really. So what I've started doing lately is I've started taking off 5 to 10 books, 15 books, 20 books a time, depending on what time I've got in the day, dropping them on Vinted. And I'm finding in some instances, especially the last week or so when I've been doing it, because I've been really doing it, because before I was putting the odd one on, now I've really started to put a lot on every day. Sometimes they're going within the half hour, an hour, 2 hours, and I'm thinking, you know, I've had some of them on eBay for months. You're talking 8-10 months, some of them have been on there over a year, not even had a sniff, not even getting any views anymore, even if you take them off and, you know, sell similar, like I just said. So what I've tended to do, like for example yesterday, there was a book it was a sealed book. I think it was about metals or something like that. It was basically, on eBay. I think I listed it for about $7.99, $9.99, something like that. Nothing. Not even had anybody watching it. No offers to send out, nothing like that. Promoted the hell out of it. Dropped it on Vinted yesterday for £6. Bam, gone in an hour. And you're like, there's no fees either. So you can't really complain about that. Put another book on there. I think I put it on eBay for £12. I saw someone had got sort of 12 to 15 quid for it, but everybody else was putting it on there for sort of 7, 8, 9, 10. So I put it on for 12 quid on eBay. Obviously you got the fees and what have you. I put the book on Vinted for 10 quid. Somebody offered me 6. I counted it for 9. Then they offered me 7. I counted it for 8, and they accepted it at 8 quid. Again, that had only been on there for an hour and a half. So it's just quick sales. And okay, if you're selling something on Vinted for 4 quid, 5, 6, 7, whatever, you might be thinking that's not a brilliant amount of money, but it is when it's like no fees and they're selling quick, and you've got them on eBay and they're not selling at all, so you're getting nothing for them. It's surely a no-brainer. So the pros obviously with Vinted is there's clearly obviously at the minute, because it's a new thing over the last so many years, not as many people on there, so there's not as much competition with people selling. Like obviously eBay, the market's massive. There's so many people doing what we do these days, especially since lockdowns and COVID back in the day. That's when I started. I've been doing this now for 6 years, like I've mentioned before, and loads of people took the dive into it because they basically had a lot of time to think about the jobs they were doing, and some people hated their jobs and they were fed up of having a boss tell them what to do, and basically having to work tons of hours a week for little reward, really. As in, no one praises you, no one thanks you for doing what you're doing. And let's be honest, if you were like, you weren't going to be able to make it in for a few days and you were seriously ill or something like that, and you had to leave for whatever reason, they'd just replace you the next day. There's no honour there, or respect or nothing. They couldn't give a shit. You're just a statistic. So tons of people went into this, and I think obviously now Vinted's come along, obviously the last few years. People have started going on there and they've started introducing new categories, which is great, because when it first come out, it was obviously, there wasn't much you could put on there but clothes, it seemed to me. But yeah, now there's more categories on there. That's better. I've been selling toys on there. They've been selling well, which is great. Comics, particularly the Beano. Weirdly, again, I've put Beano comics on eBay, and they'll sell on eBay. Don't get me wrong, I always sell them. I could have 200, 300 Beanos. I'd put them in bundles. They'd go. Like, they wouldn't not be sitting around like the books. But you generally having to sell them for sort of like 7, 8 quid for a bundle of 20 eventually after the fees. Whereas I've been putting them on Vinted for 10, 11 quid, 12 quid, and they'll just pay that. They won't even offer anything. There won't be no offer. They'll just pay it. I have seen some really good, fantastic bundles of Beanos at the minute, which are in Derby. There's 2 big, massive ones where there's probably about 1,000 Beanos. So I'm tempted to go and get them, to be honest with you, and pay out for them, because I know if I get them all listed up nice and quick, I'll put them on eBay as well, but cross them to Vinted, and I know they'll fly out, because for some reason, as soon as you put them on, they're not just taking days to go. They're like, a week or something. They go in within the first day you list it, or the next day, which is mad again, I suppose, because there's not as many on there listed. So like I say, I've waffled a bit there. I've gone off topic a bit. What I'm saying is, with the books, if you've got books and you're going to be selling books, I've seen people putting them on there for £1 and that, and to be fair, if you want to get rid of a load that way, that's great, but that's going to take you a long time to amass a decent amount of money. I'd still stick them on there for like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 quid. It doesn't mean to say no one's going to look at it, and no one's going to bother, buying them. They may well just buy them outright like they've been for me, or they might send you an offer, or you can send them offers and you'll get rid of them, trust me. If you've got somebody that if you can easily pick up books, especially for a low amount, or even free. People give them away free a lot of the time, because people are mass books. I originally talked about in excuse me, in another video, a couple of videos actually, I was going to start boxing a load of these up and sending them to this world of books. I'd started scanning loads of them, and I'd got up to about 20 quid. And there wasn't like millions of books. It was, it was a good fair few. Obviously, some of them are going for 10p, 20p on there. Some are scanning at 50 a quid. I'm not doing that now. I'm not going to bother sending them to them. I'm just going to stick them all on Vinted, because if I'm going to get even 3 to 4 quid per book on them, I'm obviously going to make a lot more money. And one thing that a lot of you probably know about Vinted, again, versus eBay, which is what this video was, eBay versus Vinted, as in selling books and stuff, is the listing process is so quick and so much easier on Vinted. You don't have to put in millions of item specifics, because that's what, over the years, eBay have done. Two things they've done. They've introduced loads more item specifics. You've got to fill in all that. And again, they're saying, oh, if you don't fill in all this, you won't get seen, you won't get pushed up on the search history and all this sort of thing. So they've done that, and they've absolutely battered the fees at you. So they're forcing you to basically promote everything. And obviously you're already paying your shop fee, you're already paying a fee when the thing sells, and then you're going to be promoting it, and then you're going to be paying for that as well. And how do you know, like when it says, oh, sold via promoted listings, because this is what I don't like trust, that it even was sold. You ain't never going to know, are you, if someone clicked on it? And also, as you all probably know, or if you don't know, they changed it so that, like before, where you clicked on it, somebody clicked on a promoted listing and bought it, you got charged the fee. But now, if somebody clicks on that promoted listing and then they don't particularly buy it, but someone else does a week later, you still get charged because that other person clicked on it, which is absolute bullshit and totally unfair. But that's why with eBay, just like this, just greed. It's all constantly, every year, more and more fees, and just more and more rules and regulations on what you can do on there and what you've got to do to get your stuff seen. And I just generally think they're going to really lose out at some point. People are just going to completely jump ship and forget eBay altogether, because I'm finding with eBay, with what I sell, there's certain things I know for a fact I wouldn't bother putting on Vinted, I suppose. So I probably will stick with eBay for certain things. But in the long run, there's no point me putting books on there, on certain books, because I just know there's too much competition. Vintage, really old books, yeah, good, they'll sell, good titles. But your standard books, like I say, like, I don't know, I put a maths book on there, that sort of thing, this business book on there, things like that. They've got millions on there, millions on eBay. And that, interestingly, that world of books, when I started scanning certain books, don't take all of them. That world of books isn't like, or We Buy Books, I think it was, sorry. You're thinking, oh yeah, if I scan all these books, even if I get 10p for each one of these, or 5p or 50p, I might quite a bit of money here and get rid of them quick. But they won't take all of them. I must have scanned about 50, 60 books. They wouldn't have. It said, oh, sorry, we've got plenty of these titles at the moment. So that's a bit of a con. So they don't take everything. I mean, to be fair, if they did, they'd be inundated with loads of crap themselves, wouldn't they? So I suppose that's fair. So yeah, there's loads of titles that they just won't take because they've got so many of them, which just proves how much is on eBay listed. So if you start putting your little book on there, no one's even see it, especially when they're asking £3 for it with free postage. So eBay versus Vinted is basically, at the minute, Vinted in terms of books is beating eBay all day long for me. So if it's something that you've got a lot of, and you've got loads of books listed on eBay, drop them over onto Vinted, give it a go, put some on there, and I'm telling you now, put 10 a day on or whatever, I'm telling you, you'll get some instant sales off them. But with books that are just sitting stagnant, doing absolutely nothing at all on eBay. So yeah, so to round up, Vinted definitely doing bits for me at the minute, I'm telling you. On some days it's doing better than eBay, which I thought I'd never bloody say when I first started doing this, because eBay was just the king for me, just smashing the sales out. But I find now on really sort of slower eBay days where you're only getting a couple of sales, Vinted, you're getting 5 to 6 sales, so it's sort of backing it up, which is great. So hence what I've talked about in most of my recent videos, I'm going to put more on there. So yeah, that was all it was, just a short little video, guys, just eBay, versus Vinted in terms of selling books. So if you like this video, please click on the subscribe button. If you like this sort of content, I'm putting out at least 1 video a week, sometimes 2, more if I've got the time. on the same sort of subjects, all reselling. Once the car boot sales start, obviously I'll pick up some stuff from there, be showing you what I picked up from there. Might do a bit of footage of the car boot as well as I'm going round. I don't tend to hit the charity shops, I'll be honest with you. I've mentioned that I did at the start, but they're just too expensive. They'll find, especially around, I mean, I live in Redditch, and weirdly, it's like you're living in Chelsea or something, like they just actually take the piss with the prices in there. You'll go in, it'll either be pure shit because they've got all the good stuff on their own eBay websites these days, or something that years ago you'd have paid £1 for or something, or £2, you might be able to get yourself 10 quid profit or whatever. They literally do want 10 quid for it, and you're like, well, if it's a charity shop, people coming in because they haven't got enough money to buy normal shops, are they supposed to afford to buy anything in these shops if they're like priced like that? So there you go. Anyway, like I say, click the like button, click subscribe, check out my other videos, and I will see you on the next one. And I appreciate you watching. Take it easy. See you later.